There's a brand new typing program for kids that improves typing technique and accuracy with fun, engaging lessons your child will love. Good and Beautiful Typing allows your student to log in, learn independently, and finish each lesson in about 10 minutes or less. There are no ads and no stress. Just skill-building activities and lots of encouragement every step of the way. Try it for free at learntotype.com. That's learntotype.com.
I now pronounce you man and...
Hey, it's Uncle Jim. I know you're getting married, but I exposed you to COVID-19 yesterday.
Thanks, but our doctor gave us a prescription for Zicova and Citrovir to have on hand. It's the only prescription pill approved for people 12 years and older to help prevent COVID-19 after exposure and should be started within 3 days of exposure.
Taking Zicova with certain medicines can cause serious or life-threatening side effects or affect how it or other medicines work. Tell your doctor about all your medicines, vitamins, and supplements, as lab tests or dose changes may be needed, and if you are or plan to be pregnant or breastfeed. Zicova may harm your unborn baby. Tell your doctor about any changes to your medicines before you start Zicova. Do not take Zicova if allergic to its ingredients. Serious side effects include allergic reactions, some severe like anaphylaxis. Get medical help right away if you have rash, hives, itching, swelling of your mouth, lips, tongue, or face, trouble swallowing or breathing, throat tightness, dizziness, lightheadedness, stomach area pain, or vomiting. These are not all the possible side effects. Ask your doctor about Zicova. For more information, call 1-877-4-ZICOVA or visit xocova.com.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome to the Irish NFL Show on the Believe Network in association with QuinBet. Well, we have one preseason game to go, and then it is go time for the 2026-27 NFL season. Before that, there is, of course, the beautiful interlude of Week 0 of the college football season in Dublin with the College Football Classic, the Aer Lingus College Football Classic, I should say, on Saturday, the 29th of August. We on the Irish NFL Show will be talking football, both NFL and college, at the Arlington Hotel. Our loyal partners who continue with us into 2026-27, and we hope long into the future as well beyond that. That's on the day of the game, Saturday the 29th at 12 noon. Just on the quays there, the top of O'Connell Street. Please do drop in and say hello if you're in the area. And if you want to represent for the Irish NFL Show while you're at it, please check out our new merch at burkesports.ie. That's BOURKESPORTS.ie. If you search for Irish NFL, when you get there, you'll find I'm wearing the throwback, the OG version of the Irish NFL Show jersey here, but there's gilets, there's caps, there's bags, there's very fitted looking Kieran O'Donovan zip tops that look like they'd show off the old off-season bod. We've all been hard at it. If you're watching the video, you can see it cut. We're cut out of marble here. Greek gods here on the Irish NFL Show. And who's to say different? Anyway, Kieran O'Donovan, Barry Adams, and Brian O'Leary here with me, Conor Brophy, right now to discuss the latest NFL happenings. And here on, the Saints have signed Daniel Carlson, former Pro Bowl kicker. We knew that there was going to be a kicker battle in camp between our good friend Charlie Smyth and Tanner Brown. Adding Daniel Carlson to the mix kind of complicates that picture further. No team is going to carry three kickers. Charlie Smyth obviously has the insurance of the fact that he's an international player, so the Saints get an extra roster spot for carrying him. If I was looking at this right now and you asked me to call it, and we're purely speculating, of course, I'd be saying the Saints ain't signing Daniel Carlson to sit around or to compete in camp. They're signing him to be their week one kicker. Charlie Smyth probably be the backup, and poor Tanner Brown sees the exit door.
Yeah, it's even when they brought in Tanner Brown and you saw the way they were splitting reps in preseason, you started to get a small little bit concerned, and you were hoping that Charlie would beat this guy out. I don't think either had a fantastic preseason in the two games. It doesn't help at all that they only got one field goal attempt in the last game the other night. That was missed by Tanner Brown. So obviously there are slight concerns on the coaching staff. As you said, they bring in Daniel Carlson. He gives me nightmares because I think of his brother Anders Carlson, who kicked for the Packers for a few seasons. I think they're brothers, aren't they? Not a nice time for the Packers, but you're absolutely right.
The Packers did the Danny Wallace on that one. No, Rodney was the good one. Right, that's a 1980s joke for soccer fans. There, you can ask your dads about that one. Yeah, no,
I don't think it's as you said. I don't think it's. I don't think Charlie Smyth is done and dusted or anything like that. I think he's a guy who's going to fight for all he can, and for everything that we've seen from Charlie Smyth, speaks to his character and speaks to his determination, and you'd say he'll give this absolutely everything he can to make sure that he's on the roster week 1. I think, as you said, having that extra
and he is as chill as a cornetto straight out of the freezer as well. Like, I don't imagine anything getting to Charlie Smyth. We've seen him boom kicks over from 50 yards. I know, Brian, you'll jump in a moment on what our good friend Jeff Duncan from the Times Picayune was saying about him, raving about him when we were chatting Charlie Smyth at the Super Bowl when we were at Radio Row. But Kieran, like, yeah, to your point, I don't see this ruffling him, but it is clearly it's not ideal heading into the season.
No, and this is the nature of the NFL. I mean, he'll have to. He undoubtedly would have expected to be competing at some point or another throughout his career. It's never going to be an easy ride, especially in a position that's so, that's so kind of day to day. Kickers can be replaced on a whim. We saw that unfortunately last year with Jude McTominay. What you'd like to think is that Charlie Smyth has already done enough in the league to turn some heads and say, even in the worst case scenario, he had some bright moments for the Saints last season. I mean, if he doesn't hang around, or if he doesn't beat out the competition and he finds himself looking for a job, you'd hope that there'll be a job out there for him at some point. And as I said, I mean, the fight isn't over. He's gonna fight for his position, and that's the nature of this game. And you wish him absolute very best. We hope we see him week 1. We hope we see him at some point throughout the season. You just never ever know what's going to happen week to week, and all you can do is wish him the very best with it.
Yeah, 100%. And Brian, like I said, we talked to Jeff about Charlie in San Francisco, and like, there was no sense that he was pandering to us or talking up Charlie Smyth just because he was talking to the Irish lads and we had a glint in our eye about the whole thing. Like, he meant what he said, and he was raving about what he'd seen in camp and the leg that this kid has. And to Kieran's point, he's actually done the hard part. So like the odds of him getting to the point that he got to with the Saints and that he's at with the Saints are minuscule. With the guy who doesn't come with a college pedigree behind him, has no film on tape. He's now been a starting kicker in the NFL. He has tape. It's a fickle business. I mean, the reality is for NFL kickers, there's guys who can hit 80 to 85% of their field goals. You can throw a stone and hit one of them. If you have 1 or 2 bad outings, you're gone, and they'll go and get someone. And Charlie Smyth hasn't even had a particularly bad outing. It's just that the Saints clearly are looking around at their options. And who we got here, Daniel Carlson, a former Pro Bowl kicker. Why don't we give him a rattle and throw him into the mix? It is a ruthless business.
Yeah, it's the fragile nature of a kicker in this business, and that's why anyone who doesn't really fully understand the NFL just assumes it's a straightforward process for a guy to come on the field and kick field goals. And we know very much, as Kieran said, alluded to the Packers and their difficulties on special teams.
Let's mention that one again.
Sure, the Packers are showing twice already tonight.
We're going to get on to some smack and cheese now in a minute.
The countdown to get the Packers mentioned on the Irish NFL show. We should be running a book on it. What was striking in that interview with Jeff, I actually was in touch with Jeff Duncan today off the back of the story breaking, but Jeff spoke about how he was enamored by the fans were enamored by him because they took him in as one of their own. We saw him at the St. Patrick's Day parade in New Orleans. The players took him in. We saw the reaction to when he kicked the winning field goal, I believe, against the Panthers towards the end of the season. And there was a few people that texted me today that aren't proactive in terms of following the league in the manner in which we do, are totally taken back by this. They thought it was like a slam dunk that Charlie Smyth was going to be back this season. He's going to be the inevitable kicker. But I think over the course of the last few weeks, and you alluded to there, the camp kicks off and we're seeing a very difficult phase for both kickers, including Tanner Brown. And all of a sudden the Saints are looking at this kind of going, in a year where some of us are selecting the Saints to win the division, not me, but some others are, they feel like this division is very much open. And sometimes it ultimately comes down to one kick or two to win games. And they just feel right now there's a kicker out there, longevity in the league, has had success with the Raiders. Okay, he's had some difficult moments as well, like most kickers in the league, but it looks like it's a difficult task for him now. But like he's, as you said, he's overcome the odds before, so maybe we miss something unusual happen over the course of the next few weeks. It's also not against the realms of possibility. Carlson plays initially at the start of the season, Conor, and he doesn't get off to the best start, and they revert back to Charlie Smyth. It's an interesting few weeks ahead.
Barry sitting there as a fan of a team that made the playoffs, of course, because of a missed kick.
Solid kicker.
Chip shot field goal that went wide right with the priest behind the posts in in Acrisure Stadium, waving it right. A great moment in last season, and one of the most dramatic moments. But I want to stick with the AFC North, and we can kind of move on from kickers before we get back to talk smack. Don't worry, Kieran, we won't leave it without mentioning Trey Smack. The Packers kicker looks like they picked a winner there. But let's talk about the AFC North and the quarterback battle that was happening in Cleveland, Barry, which now looks like it's been settled in the direction of Deshaun Watson. Discuss.
Okay, so I'll preface what I'm going to say by saying that I actually feel like the Browns over the past couple of seasons, outside of the quarterback room, have been making some really good decisions. I think their last 2 drafts have been with an eye to the future. They've drafted well in a lot of positions, and and I think Brian and I have talked about this in the past. But while I don't feel that the Browns are a threat in the AFC North this season, I do feel that they're building towards being a threat in the future. However, they do seem to have this blind spot when it comes to the quarterback role. And if you go back, like I took a look today since Deshaun Watson got injured in October 2024, so about 20 or so months ago, the starters that the Browns have named since then: Jameis Winston, friend of the show, who was playing some Jameis Winston football the weekend, by the way. He was very impressive. DTR, who they then traded at the end of the season for Kenny Pickett. Joe Flacco, who they then traded in division to the Bengals. Dylan Gabriel, their first pick in last year's draft, and then Saunders, their second pick in last year's draft. And now we're all the way back around to Deshaun Watson again. It just feels like all of the decision making is very reactive. It just hasn't been thoughtful enough. And today's decision is probably the most, to my mind, most baffling of all. You're going with a player who hasn't played in almost 2 years in any meaningful way, that the fans clearly don't want there. It's questionable what his teammates think, and he clearly doesn't want to be there, especially based on what we heard over the weekend. So to go into the thought process to go into your week 1 game with this guy as your quarterback, the guy who's going to lead you to victory. And Todd Monken said over the weekend he was going to make the decision on the player that he felt was best positioned to get the team to victory in week 1. To send that message out there to your fan base, to your team, to Sanders, that this guy gives you a better chance to win in week 1 than Shedeur Sanders does, I just think it's just absolutely baffling. And if I was Browns fans, yes, I'd be concerned about Watson being my starter. I'd probably be more concerned about Todd Monken as my head coach, because this is his first head coach gig, as we know. This is the first real big decision he's had to face as a head coach, and it just feels like he's gone in a very questionable direction on this one.
Brian, what's your take on this? I know you have strong views for a change.
Yeah, slightly different take to Barry. I'm actually not surprised by the decision, because leading up to the weekend and studying certain aspects of the Browns camp, all the reporters were working under the assumption it was going to be Deshaun Watson. The body of work over the course of the last 3 weeks was all leading towards him being the starting quarterback, and obviously it went a bit wayward at the weekend, and his performance was poor, but Todd Monken acknowledged after the game everybody was poor. It wasn't a case that everyone was standing out and he came in and he was the one that really caused the unrest with the fans. Yes, there's a clear disconnect, and that's obviously evident by his words after the game, where essentially he's still upset over the nature of them cheering him out of the stadium. And whether that's right or wrong, I think it all comes down to obviously his off-field antics, and we'll leave that alone on this show. But he came out today, Conor, PR license, obviously something got him in front of him over the course of the last 24 hours and said, right, this is what you're going to say tomorrow when you do get confirmed as the starting quarterback. From a Todd Monken perspective, what's the winning situation where if he goes with Sanders and Sanders has a poor start to the season, there won't be many clamouring for Watson to come in, but there will be the NFL media landscape that will say they've got an $85 million contract quarterback sitting on the sideline who potentially could go in there and make them a little bit better. Or do they go with him? He doesn't have a good start to the season and allows them to move off him very quickly and on to Sanders. I think Tom Monken's kind of in a no-win situation, but I think in a weird way, I think he might go with he might have taken the right decision, because if Watson does flame out, Sanders can come in within 2 to 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah, possibly. I'm kind of nearly splitting the difference between where you and Barry are, because I was surprised, and then when I thought about it a bit more, I'm like, yeah, it is the Browns, so I'm not surprised. And I think 3 words: sunk cost fallacy. To your point, they're on the hook for this huge contract, and to this end, I'd actually credit the Dolphins with making the smart decision on Tua. He's not the guy. You eat the cap hit and you tear the roster down to the studs and you go again next season, and they'll do the best that they can in the meantime. The Browns haven't done that. Like
85 million is a lot to take up. 85 million.
What's the cap hit for Tua? It's not far off that, is it?
50, 55. So
this season, and yeah. But no, and that is a massive number. But if it's not advancing you towards winning, then what's the point? And it's not as if Watson's played himself into the job. I mean, yeah, Shedeur Sanders hasn't clearly won it from him and wouldn't be the unanimous choice. But if you look at Watson's 19 starts he's made now over the 4 years that he's been there with that big guaranteed contract, QBR of 33. If he'd even made enough starts to qualify as a starting quarterback over that period, which he hasn't, it would be the lowest QBR among all qualified quarterbacks. He's been pathetic. He hasn't shown anything. He's never gotten back anywhere near that Pro Bowl form. You know, there was excuses at the start. It's a year out of football. Then he's injured. But it's just not there, and they're just not facing the music on this one. But this is how the Haslams run the Browns, and this is why the Browns suck. Kieran, unless you think any different.
Sorry, one more. There isn't any more excuses though, Conor. Like you look at the draft, 2 wide receivers taken in the draft in like the first round and early in the second round. They put weapons around his offense this year. Yeah, this is the point
they hit on Quinshon Judkins. Harold Fannin, even in a draft that include Tyler Warren and Colson Loveland, was arguably the best rookie tight end in the league last year. He was phenomenal. No excuse.
So like this, So they're sorry, Kieran, but like this is it. Like, week 3 or week 4 if he's not putting it. Sorry.
I think taking both of your points on board, like Barry mentioned, that they're not building to win this year; they're building to win in the future. And you know, I tend to agree with Brian. I think Todd Monken is making the best of a horribly bad situation. I don't think he's overly confident that either of these two lads are going to be lights out in the first couple of weeks. But the fans are certainly going to be happier to see Deshaun replaced by Sanders as opposed to Sanders replaced by Deshaun mid-season. And just to push back.
But I wonder, Kieran, if there's an element here, and I'm sorry, I forgot to say it, but just to throw it out there for discussion, is this even really Todd Monken's choice? Or are the Haslams leaning on him saying, we need to get something back for this guy, so put him in the fucking shop window for a couple of weeks at least?
Yeah, I was going to mention that. I wonder if it's even Monken's decision or if it's come from higher up. But just to push back on Brian's point, you're saying that the booing is coming from, is all about the off-field issues. I don't believe that, because we've seen NFL fans forgive so much when the player is decent enough. We've seen players, lose all kind of sense of moral decency and cheer for guys who've done horrible things right throughout the history of the NFL. And so I'm not going to get into the off-field issues, but it's exactly to your point, Conor. It's the way he's played. It's the fact that he's played 19 games in 5 years. He's swallowed up so much money, and he's put this organization into such a hole. And then he comes out and he has the audacity to actually challenge the fans as to why they're booing him. He can feel whatever way he wants to feel in private about being booed by fans. And he can feel that it's disrespectful, 100%. But when you get up to the podium, you say, well, it's my job to win the fans over, and I'm going to do my very best to do that as soon as I get on the field. That's all you have to say. It's not rocket science. I just cannot understand how anybody let him up to a mic to say the things that he said in the last.
Well, this is the difficulty, sorry, Kieran. Like we see it time and time again when we go to the games. The games aren't like, I'm talking about games, and we've been to Tottenham. Within 5 minutes, you've got a head coach and a player in front of the mic, and this is all sports where they're in that moment. They're coming off a very difficult game, and they're being shoved in front of a microphone, expected to kind of keep a cool head.
As someone who's trained athletes to do that in front of a microphone, like to your point, the time to sort that out isn't after he's shot his mouth off. Like the time, and it's a preseason game. They should be prepped with talking points going into it. Like it's not as if the booing of Watson is any new thing. Like you scenario plan for these, and you talk to him beforehand, and you say, look, if there's an adverse reaction from the fans, you don't air your dirty laundry in public. Like you put the head down, you say, yeah, the fans are entitled to voice their opinion, and to Kieran's point, it's my job to win them over. You give him the words before the game. Like this was not an unforeseeable thing. Again, it's dysfunctional franchises do dysfunctional things, including not prepping their players properly to face the media.
Which is why his 2 minute which is why his 2 minute press. I don't know if anybody's taken the opportunity to watch his 2 minutes today, where essentially it was literally written for him. I'm sure he was training all day as to being ready to come out, because he basically rolled it all back. He apologised and said he's very much a part of the environment and part of the area, and he wants to deliver championships for Cleveland.
Oh, Mr. Thompson. I think he's talking to you.
Copied and pasted from the Tiger Woods speech, was it?
Yeah. We've another significant running back injury, Barry, with the Raiders. Ashton Jeanty going down, ankle sprain for him. It's not a great thing to happen for the Raiders. Hopefully, it doesn't look like he's going to be out for a lengthy period of time. But they'll have wanted as many weapons as they could around Fernando Mendoza to help him settle into the NFL.
Yeah, and look, it feels like I've sustained my first injury of the Irish NFL show as well, because last week I was on here saying, how can the Cardinals be so reckless to, put Love out there and taking the 14 touches and put him in danger, and then Ashton Jeanty goes and does something similar in practice. Look, I think personally as well, I also am affected by this because he's a key player in my fantasy football team, so I'm anxious to see how long he's going to be out for. But I think this just again goes to show the fragility of the running back position and how they really need to be protected, whether it's in practice or in these preseason games. And you look back over the last few weeks.
To spare you beating yourself up here, like I would take a player getting injured in practice over a player who got injured because they overused him in a preseason game. Like, practice is unavoidable. They had the choice as to whether they give him 14 touches in a preseason game. That was just daft. Like, I don't blame the Raiders for what happened to Jeanty. I do blame the Cardinals for what happened to Love.
Yeah, I think the only kind of, and it's not a silver lining for the Raiders, but the running back that they took in the draft looks pretty good as a backup. So hopefully they have somebody there who can fill in even a little bit while Jeanty is out, and they can move forward from there.
Kieran, we've promised there'd be some Smack talk, and let there be talk of Smack, because the Packers, we've ribbed them for their special teams woes, and you were crying tears about that one, and have done over a period of time, like all Packers fans. Packers were the only team to use a draft pick on a kicker in 2026. It looks like they got a good one.
Yeah, Trey Smack, they brought him in, and he's been absolutely perfect off the tee so far. Through the two games. And look, I could come in and I could give you all the stats, the length of the kicks, and the nature of each kick. Was it from the left hash, from the right hash? I'm not going to do that because I've heard you err on the side of caution for the last couple of weeks, Conor, and talking about preseason and building up your hopes, before you get to the real business end. And the fact of the matter is that the Packers have had special teams issues right for the duration of the time that I've been following them, and it's not just on kickers. I mean, they've had Mason Crosby, more than serviceable kicker and an excellent kicker in the league for many years, and they were still having special teams issues there. I think that the issues speak to a bigger problem in Green Bay, and I've been talking about it, about the fact that I think it's mainly a lack of attention to detail and a lack of actually caring enough about special teams to oil the machine well enough to be there. But having said all that, having watched the kind of the missed kicks and the points that slipped away and cost them games last year, absolutely, it's a reason to be optimistic coming into the season, to see a guy go absolutely, I suppose, shoot the lights out so far. You just hope it continues into the season.
Brian, when Kieran talks about length,
Conor, you can lock it in now. Week 1 missed game-winning field goal.
And that's why I'm not getting too excited.
Double doink. Don't even talk to me. Anyway, Brian, when Kieran mentions length of kick and shooting the lights out, Harrison Butker landed one from 69 yards in a preseason game, but that one wasn't without its controversies.
Yeah, Vic Fangio is now coming out that we have to start considering NFL kicks with asterisks because the balls are conducive to kickers making these 69-yarders.
A lot of people might not know this. I'm not assuming this is necessarily widespread knowledge, and not just because I only found out about it relatively recently, but they're different balls. There are K balls that they kick with. They're not the same ball that they're playing with the rest of the game. It's designed to make the kicks easier to land.
Yeah, well, I was one who was aware of that, Conor, but he's even gone into the
sorry,
saying, yes, well,
you could have been more kind to me there.
But he's saying that they're even gone a little bit beyond that. The balls are conducive to the kickers making the field goals, but he's saying they're actually even gone beyond that now to actually make the ball. I'm not going to say even more conducive, but he's certainly pushing the point that it's no surprise there's a guy who's making 69 yards, and he is acknowledging that like Booker is one of the best in the business. So like it's not the case that he's just throwing anybody out there. But we saw Little for the Jags last year make a 68 yarder. Like let's be fair to the kickers. Like, I know it's preseason, but during the season when the pressure's on, to be kicking 68-yard field goals is no mean task. So I think we have to acknowledge. We started the show talking about kickers. Like, how impressive.
Booker, Brandon Aubrey, and who's the Chargers guy that booms it as well. Like, you're talking about get 2 first downs from, if you're starting from the 35-yard line based on the new kickoff rules, and you're basically in field goal range. Like, it makes for more points and more high-scoring games, and it's tempted coaches now perhaps to attempt field goals from longer distances, but I'm not necessarily sure that's what fans want to be watching.
Well, I know I didn't in week 2 of last year, Conor, when there was 18 seconds left on the clock and you think the Giants are beating the Cowboys, and then they only need, 15, 20 yards to get into field goal range with the mentioned kicker from the Cowboys. It's just the nature of where we're at now with kickers, though. It's a common trend now. We're getting kickers coming into the league that are just booming from 65, 70 yards, and chip shots are now becoming 40 to 50-yard field goals, where years ago, ending beyond 40, we're all nervous watching our own team. As you know well as a Bears fan as well, you know, the difficulty you've seen over the years with since Robbie Gould moved on. So,
and as I know, as a Dublin fan, coming from a county where we can't find anyone to kick a 2-pointer from beyond the frickin' arc, maybe we should be taking an NFL kicker for the next championship. We'll see how that one goes.
Anyway, this championship on the GA, don't we, as well? So go on, sorry, keep going. Still all over that loss.
This championship is upon us, or will be upon us before we even know it. As we said, we have a live show from the Arlington coming up in Dublin, Arlington Hotel, on the 29th of August, ahead of week 0 of the college football season, when the TCU Horned Frogs take on the NCU Tar Heels at the Aviva Stadium in the Aer Lingus College Football Classic. Please do drop in to the Arlington Hotel in Dublin and see the Irish NFL show live. Otherwise, please do like and subscribe wherever you find us. It really does help others to get in on the secret and boost the Irish NFL show community.
Taking care of a family means thinking about the little things that add up over time. The meals you make, the routines you build, the habits that help everyone feel their best. That's why so many families choose Azure Well. Azure Well offers vitamins and supplements focused on purity, potency, and consistency. Every formula is lab tested and designed for people who want confidence in what they're taking every day. Wellness doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes it starts with small choices that become lasting habits. If you're thoughtful about what you bring into your family's routine, take a moment to compare what's in your cabinet to Azure Well's line of products. Join a community that believes in better, naturally. Visit AzureLivingWell.com to shop and learn more. That's AZURE livingwell.com. Discover a simpler, healthier way to shop for the things that matter. These products have not been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.